and I'm power braking right now. I'm stepping on the brake and the gas at the same time. I'm seeing all the cylinders misfiring, especially number 3. Yeah, so this vehicle belongs to a good friend of mine, right? He's a mobile technician. He does a lot of, alarms and GPS stuff. He slowly getting into diagnosing things. But he took his vehicle to a shop close by to him, and they said that, he had multiple misfires, and they need to replace the plugs and the coil. And, he kind of second guessed that, so he gave me a call, and I basically told him, let's diagnose the vehicle. He probably could get a video out of it, help someone else. So he brought it to me, and we let it sit, because he said upon cold start, you feel the misfire more, right? But when it's driving, it drives real good. You just, when it's cold, you get that little rattling, and then that's it, right? So we left the vehicle, right? I'm going to put the scan tool on it and see exactly what's going on and what the complaint is, right? All right, so we're going to let the scan tool do its thing, right? And he also mentioned that, he had some lights came on the dash, right? And once he clear the code, it comes off, but it comes back on after a while, right? So we got to, do our due diligence and do our checks, right? So right now, I got some faults on the ABS, the ESB, the integrated driver support. I don't know. All right, so let's look into ABS and see what's good. Okay, let's read 4 codes. So the ABS is complaining about the PCM, basically. So, what else? The ESB. Let's see what the ESB is complaining about. It's complaining about the longitude acceleration sensor. Right, all those codes could come up, because if we have a fault on the engine, right, it definitely will come up, right? That's how this setup is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into the PCM, right? I'm going to read 4 codes. We don't have any 4 codes. Okay, so we're going to go into data stream. We could do a power balance to see if it's a coil. We can try that. But before we do anything, let's go into misfires. Let's go into cylinder misfires. I'd like to look at my lambda. Okay, my command. And I'd like to see my misfires. He said it happens on cold start. I don't think it's timing. The vehicle drives okay. Well, it drove down here, okay. So I don't think it's timing. So it probably have something really to do with this misfires. Misfire 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so let's graph it. All right, so let's start the vehicle up and then warm up and see what's good. All right, so you see all the lights on the dash. This is what he was talking about. Okay, I'm seeing a misfire on number 2. Number 3 is counting. Number 1, you definitely feel like a rough, vibration. Okay, cylinder number 1 has some misfire. Number 3 has the most so far. Number 4 doesn't have anything. All right, so from what I'm seeing here, right, my air fuel ratio lambda is around 1, so that's letting me know that I have good fuel control. So I'm not going to go after fuel or injectors or something like that, because right now, if it was like an injector giving trouble, I'd probably be reading close to, let's say, like 95, right? 0.95, 0.98, 0.88, stuff like that, right? But right now I'm in good control, but I'm getting misfire on number 1, 2, and 3 for sure. Okay, let's step on it with gas and see the misfire increase. Or I can power brake and see if the misfire, shows itself more. Let's see. No, I can't do it while I'm in this mode. Okay, so I got the vehicle in maintenance mode now, so I can let the combustion engine run at all time. And now I saw that I have a misfire on cylinder number 1. No, number 4. Sorry. Alright, so let's power brake and cause the misfire to act up in the rest of the cylinders. So every time I step on the X and I'm power braking right now, I'm stepping on the brake and the gas at the same time, I'm seeing all the cylinders misfiring, especially number 3. I'm still in good fuel control, so I'm going to eliminate that as fuel and air so far. I'm not going to go after anything with vacuum leaking, things like that. Yeah, we got misfire. Okay, so with that, let's go on the hood and see exactly what's going on, right? I'm gonna go with the scan tool. So we on the hood, right? I'm gonna do some checks, right? I'm gonna probably go in the cylinder with the ball scope to just take a look and see how the valve's looking or the cylinder walls is looking. I'm gonna hook up my test equipment onto the engine to see, just look around and look for some clues, right? I believe the guy said that they swapped the spark plugs and the coils, and the misfire is still on cylinder 1, 2, and 3. They're not really getting anything on cylinder number 4. First thing I'm gonna do, seeing that we have a misfire, I'm gonna do a relative compression test. So I already got my setup, right? I got my sync on number 1 coil. I already disabled all the coils, so I don't want the vehicle to run, right? And next I got my high end clamp around my ground wire, right? Pointing towards the battery. Basically, I have it on, I got it zeroed, right? I gotta put some time on this because I gotta do like I gotta start this vehicle up, and you gotta do like a bit of sequence just to get it to go into maintenance mode. So I put 10 seconds on the clock, so that should be sufficient time to get it done. Alright, so that's supposed to be enough. So seeing that this is a hybrid vehicle, I wasn't sure if I could obtain a RC test from it. It does have a starter, so I mean, let's see exactly what's good, right? And the red waveform is the cylinder number 1 ignition coil signal, and the blue waveform is the current clamp around the battery negative, right? And from what I'm seeing here, I did obtain something that looks like a RC test. Okay, let's see exactly what's good. Yeah, I did. To be honest, this is the first time I'm trying it, man. So right, so let's zoom in a little bit. So from that red peak to the second peak is cylinder number 1 720 right cycle, and the blue waveform, basically every peak you see is a compression pulse, right? So if the firing order is 1 3 4 2, okay, this is number 1. All right, let me get a next ruler. This is the number 1 again. So what I'm seeing here is I got 1 3 4 2 back to 1, and I'm also seeing that we got low compression on cylinder number 1 and 2. 3 looks very high, but number 3 have cylinder problems as well, misfires. But back to 1. Yeah, this is, hold on real quick, I'm not sure how this cycle is, but I believe the firing order is 1 3 4 2. 1 3 4 2 1. Yeah, that's correct. So I mean, matter of fact, let's put some filters on this real quick. Let's clean up this waveform. Hold on real quick. So it's 1 3 4 2 back to 1. Right, and if I put some filters on it, yeah, definitely have a low compression in this one right here, which is number 2. right? Number one also, but number three looks taller than the rest. And I'm not really using much amperage because I mentioned it is a hybrid vehicle. It's not a normal vehicle where you need a lot of startup power. This has a dual clutch setup, right? And it doesn't have a big flywheel and stuff like that, so I don't have to use much energy, so much amperage I mean, to turn the flywheel. So right now, yeah, we got a low compression problem. So what can affect compression? I mean, valve sealing, crankcase, things like that. So let me hook up some equipment and see exactly if I can narrow it down. I'm just using this as a test dummy, right, for a case study, so just bear with me. I must admit, this is a good RC test, right? So I'm going to hook up some additional equipment so we can figure out exactly where the compression is going. Alright, so let me show you exactly what I got set up here. I got a sync on number one coil. I got some pulse sensor around checking different areas of the vehicle. Right, I got one in the crankcase, I got one checking the intake manifold, and I got one on my tailpipe exhaust, right? So with that, now I'm watching the pulses of the engine to see exactly where the misfire is, and trying to identify how the misfire is affecting the engine, right? Whether it be the intake valves, the exhaust valves, right? The piston rings, right? And with that now, you see I still have the misfire on cylinder number one. I got it on all, actually, right? And what I'm doing here is just hoping to see exactly what's going on, right? So let's pause this, okay? Let's zoom this out. Yeah, so seeing that we got some good captures, right? The red waveform is from the intake manifold, the green is the exhaust, and the yellow waveform is off the crankcase dipstick using the pulse sensor, and the blue is the ignition sync, right? So as I said, from the blue, that blue glitch to the next glitch basically is number one cylinder keep firing, and I'm just looking to see if I'm seeing any dropouts or anything that stands out, right, to show me that the valves are not sealing properly, or the compression is leaking via the rings or exhaust valves. And what I'm seeing right here is the intake is looking kind of shaky, right? We are using pulse sensor, right, but the intake valves looking like the ones that's leaking, not the exhaust and the crankcase. Yeah, so we're gonna go after the intake valves. As I said, I'm just using this as a case study. So let me just get my borescope. We're gonna take out the coils and the plugs for these cylinders and just take a look before we do any checks, right? And we could inspect the spark plugs and the coils to see if we have any damages. I mean, number one is not looking too bad. I'm seeing a little, I'm not sure what that red spot is, but let's see number two. It's not looking bad at all. So number one and number two looking good so far. Let me take number three out. Number three doesn't look like you have any leakage or anything. This is number four. Alright, so number four is good as well, right? So let me get my spark plug tool and take these plugs out. I got the spark plugs loose, so I'm just going to pull out number one. I'm going to try to do one at a time and inspect the spark plugs and see how they look. Let's pull this out. Let's see how this looks. The spark plugs look decent. I mean, the gapping look small. It's not looking, wide. It's actually looking real good. I'm not seeing any, damages to the spark plug. This is cylinder number one. Right, so we're gonna pull all the spark plugs and let's check and see what's good with all of them. This is number two. I'm not seeing any cracks. The gap looking wide. I mean, very good too. It's not, excessively wide. This is number three. So far the spark plugs and the coil look good, so that eliminates the the ignition side of it so far. Right, so what we're gonna do next, as I said, we're gonna put the borescope down the engine. Okay, so with the spark plugs out, right, the coils look good. I'm just gonna put my scope down in the cylinder, right, and let's take a look and see if we see anything done in the cylinder that can just show us exactly what's going on. Right, so far it's looking somewhat clean on the piston. Right, let me just turn it around. Okay, you can see it now. It's looking really good on the piston so far. I'm not seeing no indentation of like timing issues, or I'm seeing some hatch marks on the walls. Okay, let's see if we can go a little further. And I'm trying to do both. So matter of fact, let me just do the recording right on the borescope, so I don't have to hold this camera and show you exactly what's going on. Okay, so this is cylinder number 1, right? So I'm gonna try to get the focus on the valve, and you see a little carbon buildup on the intake valves. Okay, so these two are the bigger valves compared to the that one that's looking like it's open. That's the exhaust valves, and you're seeing some carbon buildup on the seat right there. So I believe that we do have a sealing problem, right? So let's go into cylinder number 2, right, and see exactly what's going on in number 2. So the misfire is all on all the cylinders, and number 2 piston look good. Hatch marks are there, so I don't think it's a rings problem. I believe it is the intake valves that's full of carbon and causing the vehicle to misfire, especially on cold start. And when the vehicle warms up, it seals better. So but the misfire is still there. So let's go into number 3. All right, same thing, piston look good, but what I'm seeing here is, hold on, let me just get this thing to angle properly. That's the exhaust valve, right? Let's see if I can get it to turn. All right, I'm seeing some carbon deposits on the intake valves seat area, and also on the seat, on the valves. Yeah, you're seeing right there that black mark around the valve. That is the carbon buildup that's causing the valve not to close completely and escaping combustion straight out the valves. So we're gonna have to manually clean some of that carbon off, and then probably just clean up with a blaster, and that should be it, right? So yeah, you see that thick crust, basically that's causing the valve from properly closing and sealing. So I mean, that's it. I believe that to solve the misfire problem, right? So let me get my tools and take off all that crust that's causing the valve not to close properly, and we'll redo our checks and see if the misfire goes away. Okay, so what we're going to do is remove the intake. All right, I gotta remove the throttle and stuff like that, take those injectors out, and once I get everything out, I'm gonna walnut blast the valve. I just got the intake off, I got the throttle off as well. Okay, sorry about the noise in the back, can't do nothing about that. All right, so let's put that cover down, and let's see if we could get a light in here. Let's take this off. Hold on real quick. Is this bolt on? No, it's not. So I just gotta take this off. All right, so let's put the light, and let me show you exactly how it looks. It's look filthy. Matter of fact, let me just change the light so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So, yep, heavy carbon, all cylinders. You see it? Really filthy. Matter of fact, let me get my borescope and let me show you exactly what I'm seeing. Alright, so this is cylinder number 1. You see that it's built up with a lot of carbon. Okay, this is number 2. same thing. And number 3 was the worst. Yep. So definitely gotta clean these valves. It's number 4. So no wonder number 4 was not giving that much misfire, but he definitely was, you know, filthy. Okay, so I just showed you, you know, how the valves is looking. Number 3 is the worst. You can take a look right there in comparison to the rest, but they all are filthy. So let's clean that up and take it from there. Alright, so we back on this Honda Vezel, right, the 2017, right, customer basically gave me the permission to change out the spark plugs because he had in these Denso looking thing. I'm not sure if it's original or not, but I'm going to replace it with the OEM recommended spark plug. Yes, we know Honda don't make spark plug, it's NGK, but still I'm going to change it out because if I can't trust the parts that's in this vehicle, then, you know, can't solve the misfire. So let's install these spark plugs and we're going to start the vehicle up, right? As you saw, I cleaned out a lot of carbon that was built up on top of the valves, especially the intake, right? So I got a lot off. I was able to chip at it, right? So let's install these spark plugs, and we gotta do relearn for the crank sensor, right? Not the crank sensor, the crankshaft, right? I'm not sure if Honda has that, but I gotta check to see before, you know, we start the vehicle up, right? So let me just install that and we go in the car and see what's up. Okay, so we still have all the lights on the dash, so we're going to do an auto vent. All right, we're going to pull up all the information from this vehicle, and then we have some codes to clear for the ABS, right? We're going to run through the system and see exactly what's going on, right? So let me set it up and let's see if we get rid of this misfire, you know, by cleaning the valves and also replacing the plugs. All right, press OK. Oh man, press confirm. Yes. All right, we're gonna go into Japan. It's a 2017 Honda Vezel. I'd like to see if we have the crank relearn set up on this scan tool. If not, I may have to get another one, right? This is a medium mid-range scan tool, so it may have that feature, it may not, I'm not sure, but let me just let it scan and then take it from there. All right, so we still have all the faults on the vehicle, right? So I'm going to press clear DTC, right? So we're going to erase all that information that was logged on the system, seeing when the vehicle, had its fault and was shutting down. So I'm expecting the lights to come off, unless they have a hard fault where we do have to diagnose that, but he did not come for that, right? So we don't have anything. All right, so I'm gonna go into the ECM, well, PCM, right? And let's see if we have any, crank position relearn, right? You don't have to do it on all vehicles, but I mean some do have it, so you have to check to see if you have to erase whatever information was logged on the ECU and stored, right? Using special function, right? ECM, PCM reset, right? So you gotta read it. Basically, they're telling you DTC and the freeze data will be lost. HEV vehicles cannot perform that in ready to drive state. Please set ignition on. State only. Yes. Press yes. Right. Press yes. So whatever was logged, basically I'm gonna just press OK. All right. So let's read DTC. We got no fault codes as was shown earlier. All right. Let's look into the data stream. And we're going to look for our lambda again and our misfires. So we're going to look for a lambda command, which is this one. Our air fuel ratio. Come on, why are you not picking? Probably the gloves. Let me take this gloves on. All right, I got it. Let's pick this one and let's look for misfire. So what I did just now was just replace or remove all the misfire counters by doing the ECM reset. So if you can recall earlier, well, yesterday we had a lot of misfires going on cylinder number 3. Number 2 was okay, and number 1 had a few, and number 4 wasn't showing much. It probably showed like 1 at least. But I believe that since I cleaned off all the carbon of the valve, the intake valve, it should help, right? So I also gotta do a compression test and see if my compression was restored. So let's graph this. All right, so let's start the vehicle up and see what's going on. I gotta put it in ready mode. Hold on real quick. Switch off. So we gotta do all the process thing again. Okay, so let's see what's going on. Oh, I gotta do it over. I made a mistake. Alright, so ignition on. Okay, my handbrakes wasn't up. So we're gonna go in maintenance mode. And let's see exactly. Definitely feeling a rough idle on cylinder number 2. Do I have anything unplugged? Yeah, I'm definitely feeling on number 4 as well. Let's do some checks in front. Yeah, I left the cylinder unplugged. That's my fault. So let's go back to see what's going on with the misfires. I'm still feeling a rough misfire, especially number 2 and number 4. Okay, let's step on the X. Yeah, you're feeling a rough idle on number 2, number 4. Alright, let's go back and see why we have that. Make sure everything is plugged in. Yep, it's plugged in. Okay, so let me do some checks and I will see exactly why we have this misfire thing going on. Do it flag any codes. Let's read data stream. Right, so we had a misfire that was on, that I left unplugged. So let's clear this. Press yes. Okay, they said they don't have it running. So we gotta. Okay. So yeah, that was my fault. I left the coil unplugged. Alright, so we have no trouble codes. Alright, so let's go back. Yeah, I don't know why I left that unplugged. Alright, so we're gonna switch off, switch back on, and let's do the process again to start the vehicle and put it in maintenance mode. Okay, so I'm in maintenance mode. So let's look. I don't feel a rough idle anymore. Alright, let's look for our airfield command. So is it that Honda is that sensitive that even if you have a misfire, it logs and store and you gotta do a reset? Wow. Yeah, the CPK pulse, what was that, fuel / whatever learn is complete. Got 8 misfires. Why do we have a misfire? Let's see. Do we have one? Let's take a look at it. Come on, gloves. Okay, let's graph this. So right now I'm not seeing any misfires. I don't want to speak too soon, but I'm not seeing anything at all. Let's step on that. So I just saw number 4 poke his head up, number 3 as well, and then he went back to 0. Okay, so far. Alright, so I'm doing a test drive with this vehicle to see if the misfires counters, comes off, or if it's, oh, this car's driving a little horrible. Probably got some suspension work to do. And right now number 4 is misfiring a little bit more, and number 1 stopped, number 2 has 4, and number 3 has 3. So I believe that number 1 now got one. open up on the acceleration a little bit, and the misfires are slowly counting, you know, not as drastic as before. All right, and I'm really, you know, pushing this vehicle right now. So okay, we got little hits here and there. So I mean, I'm gonna make a recommendation to the customer that I believe he may need to look into those injectors, because I didn't like how they were spraying, the spray pattern, and you slowly gain little counts, right? But not as before, right? But before I give the vehicle back, let me do a compression test again and see if my compression comes up on the engine to see if we're chasing our tails. If it's compression again, well, there's nothing really else we can do but probably try another treatment, probably a BG or C foam or whatever treatment he want to try. But I mean, when compression loss is lost, right? So unless you rectify that problem, it could be that the valve seats, you know, not really, it cleaned. I know it's cleaned, but I'm not sure if it's, you know, if it has some damages on it due to the time that carbon was there and the valves was, you know, sitting. Not sure. But let's run it again and see what's good. Oh. So I pushed it to like 80 kilometers, and right now it's not misfiring as before. So at least we got, you know, some headway. Where number 3 was the main culprit. Number 3 was acting up a lot. So number 4 has a little issue now. All of them actually, but it's not as drastic as before. Okay, so let me talk to the customer and see what he would like to do. Yeah, so I just got back from the test run and all is well, right? I did converse with the customer, let him know that he should change the injectors, because I wasn't liking how the spray pattern was, and he is clocking close to 300,000 kilometers on these set of injectors, right? I didn't like how it was spraying when I was basically had on the machine, right? So until next time, y'all take it easy. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share, comment. You know, leave a comment down in the box, hit that bell notification, let me know what time it is, and you know, until next time, y'all stay up.